So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be talking about our Indian Express newspaper. We will discuss it in the length and breadth. We will see what are the important articles from today's newspaper. We will discuss highest monthly GST collections. So as per you can say these collections and the number, these are of no matter, but the thing is the trend matters over here. So if we see after 2017 when GST has pitched in and afterwards we have seen this is the highest collection, monthly collection we have seen. So we will that is why it becomes important for us. Now what is the balanced fertilization? Okay, second thing we will talk about an article from the explained section that is talking about the balanced fertilization. Okay, again there will be data, there will be pricing, all these things, but again these are not important. What is important for us is that what is macronutrients, what is micronutrients, okay, and what should be the what is balanced fertilization. All these things will be discussed in this particular article, because there are chances that these terms UPSC can ask. Okay, then DRDO tests smart system. Okay, so this is a torpedo system which has been tested by DRDO and it was a successful test. So we will talk about that as well. Then from around the world we will take one or two articles, and then for your own read there will be one article which is again related to article 31. We have already talked about this thing, and we will see a practice question in the end of the session. Okay, so let's start. This is the front page. Here you can see over 2 lakh crore highest monthly GST collection. So we will talk about this article, and then there is another article which is related to your international relations. We will talk about that as well. Okay. What is primary cause of mumps? This was the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. So the answer is basically virus. So earlier when we were discussing mumps, I told you that it is a viral infection. Okay, and because of which there will be a swelling or on the, you can say, one side of the cheek. So that is basically when we are talking about the recent incidents which is happening in Delhi, 5 to 6 cases per week. Earlier there used to be almost no cases in a year, and this is happening because of the hindrance in the vaccination drive which was going on, and this hindrance was caused by the COVID, and because of which more focus was given to the COVID vaccination, and this particular MMR vaccine took a backseat, and that is why we are seeing such cases again. And not only in Delhi, we are seeing these cases all over India. Okay, so let's start with the today's discussion. Okay, strong movement in economy, finance minister says, and there are certain things which is related to your GST. GST, you know that it was introduced in 2017, and since 2017 till today, this is the highest monthly collection, that is 2 lakh crore. Okay, rupees 2 lakh crore. Now they are saying that there is year on year growth. Okay, so we will see that data and all. So we will try to compile, or you can say summarize this article in the next few slides. Audit anti-evasion measures help boost GST collections in April. Okay, so obviously if you want to enhance the collection, so there you have to take certain measures that so that the evasion, tax evasion becomes almost nil, or you can say it reduced to a certain point. Okay, so such you can say measures has been taken by the government. Okay, gross good and service tax collection rose 12.4% to touch the record high, that is 2.10 lakh crore. Okay, so that is the number. If you want to remember this number, it's okay, because you can say that more than 2 lakh crore rupees monthly collection has been done by GST. That is the highest one. Okay, the increase was driven mainly by 13.4% year on year higher domestic transactions. Okay, now they are saying that domestic transactions are increasing. Okay, that means that domestic trade or domestic exchanges has been increasing, and that is why we are seeing this particular increase in the GST collection. Because when we are talking about GST, goods and service tax, it is a tax on basically your value addition. Okay, at every stage of value addition there will be a tax, and ultimately the final consumer will be giving you a tax. But there is one more important angle, that there is no cascading effect. Okay, the cascading effect means that at every point of you can say transaction which is happening, this tax is being levied, and ultimately if the burden is falling on the last consumer, or you can say customer, then it is having a cascading effect, because of which the price will keep on increasing. Okay, But when we are talking about this GST, the prices are not increasing manifold, because there is no cascading effect, because there is a concept of input tax. Okay, I will not go into details of all these things because it will stress the class, but just remember that because of GST, the overall price for the consumer, overall burden of the tax on the consumer has reduced. Okay, and that should be the goal of a tax regime. Okay, and there is a concept of input tax credit. Now there are transactions which are increasing, because of which GST tax collection has increased. Okay. Now second thing is, along with higher compliance in the backdrop of anti-evasion measures and the audit taken by the authorities. Okay. Now highest level of GST collection recorded since the indirect tax reforms kicked in July 2017. Now this particular date becomes important for you, and you can tell me in the comment section which was the constitutional amendment which was bought to bring in GST. Okay. Now first time that overall mop up crossed the 2 lakh crore mark. Okay. So that is the first time it has happened. Previously the highest was 1.87 lakh crore. Okay. Now we have crossed the 2 lakh mark. Here you can say the strong pickup in the GST gross GST collection was reflective of the year end momentum that was visible last year too. Year end momentum, because that is when we have this March as the end of the financial year. Then while audits and the investigation by both central and the state GST authority aided the mop up, sustainability of this figure will depend on the consumption demand. Okay, as we have seen that this is increasing because of the year on year transaction which are increasing. Now we are saying that this particular thing will sustain, or you can say this GST collection will sustain only if there is a consumption demand. Okay, whenever there will be a consumption demand, that means that there will be transaction, and then transaction will lead into this particular GST collections. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now coming to the summary of this particular thing, before going ahead, we will talk about little bit of GST reforms or GST taxation regime. Here you can say it is a destination based taxation system. Okay, destination means the person who is buying, that person will be paying the tax. Okay, so this is destination based. Ultimately, the customer or the consumer will be paying the tax. It has been established by the 101 Constitutional Amendment Act. I have asked you the question, but this is given over here. 101, or you can say 101st Constitutional Amendment Act in 2017. It is an indirect tax. Okay, it is an indirect tax for the whole country on the lines of one nation, one tax, to make the regime simpler, uniform throughout the India. Okay. Now it is a single tax on the supply of goods and services in its entire production cycle or life cycle. I am from manufacturing to the consumer. So let's say there is this raw material which was purchased by a factory. Okay, so there will be a tax. Okay, afterwards this has been made over here and it was given to the wholesaler. Okay, there will be a tax which is added, because obviously from raw material to factory there will be a value addition, and then here there will be a tax, then to retailer it is given, then there will be a tax, and then until finally consumer will be consuming it. So ultimately consumer has to pay a price along with a tax. Now these are the steps where you have to pay the tax. Whenever a factory person, or you can say let's say wholesaler, that will be a better example. Okay, so wholesaler has got a particular material at the rate of 100, and there was a tax, let's say 18 rupees. So he has paid 118 rupees. Okay, now this 18 rupees he will be getting you can say input. Okay, because ultimately he has paid 18 rupees and this person over here might have paid, let's say, some 10 rupees as a tax. Okay, so ultimately what will happen, that this 10 rupees will be sent back to his account. So ultimate overall tax which was paid was only 8 rupees. Okay, so that is the case, you can say that is input tax which is again been credited to the account of those person who are paying the tax. Okay, but now when we are talking about the consumers, then the final consumer will not get any kind of input tax. Okay, so that is about this thing. It is calculated only in the value addition at any stage of goods and services. As I told you, from the factory to let's say raw material was taken and then there was some value was added and it was given to someone else. He has added some value. There was branding, assorting, all these things which has happened. And all those stages there will be a value addition, and then that particular tax will be given over there. The final consumer will pay only his part of the tax and not the entire supply chain, which was the case earlier. As I told you earlier, there was a cascading effect. Okay, so this tax was increasing because there was a tax on the tax. Okay, but now since there is an input credit system, you don't have to pay the tax on the tax, but you have to pay the tax only on the value. Okay, there is a provision of GST Council to advise, to decide upon the matters related to GST, whose chairman is Finance Minister of India. Along with it, there are states which are also members of this GST Council. Okay, so here you can say that there is you can say representation of the states, so it is a federal in nature. Okay, now coming to the trends which we have seen, goods and service tax collection reached a record high of 2 lakh crore in April. So please remember that it has crossed the 2 lakh crore mark. They can directly ask you this statement in the examination. Okay, this represents 12.4% increase compared to the previous year. Okay, so that is 12.4% high from the previous year, and there is increase in the 13.4 in the transactions, domestic transactions which are happening on which this tax is imposed. Okay, so since there is an increase in the transaction, so there is an increase in the tax as well. It is the highest level of GST collection since the reforms which implemented in 2017. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman attributed the milestone to the strong economy and efficient tax collection system. No pending due to states were reported regarding the settlement of the IGST. When we are talking about GST, there are there is central GST, then there is state GST, then there is the integrated GST, that is IGST. Okay, so when we are talking about the dues which has to be paid to the states, there is no pending due in case of your IGST. Okay, so that is an important fact that can be a statement which can be asked in UPSC directly. Okay. Now, because obviously when we think about this particular thing, that there has been this particular you can say idea that states are asking for their GST contribution, and it center was struggling to pay for it. Okay, because of the low GST collections. That was the case. Okay, now considering all those things in mind, if there is a statement which is saying that there is no pending due to the states with respect to the IGST, so that can create a confusion. So, but that is the case, there is no pending IGST dues to the states. Okay, now after refunds, the net GST revenue for the April stood at 1.92 lakh crore, marking 15% increase from the last year. Now that is after refunds, means that whatever you can say the input credit is there, or the whatever tax which has to be refunded, then state-wise data shows that there is a varied growth rates in GST collections, with Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, UP, Tamil Nadu, Haryana. These are the top performers. Okay, so you can remember that. See, when we are talking about Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, these are mostly industrial you can say states. Then when we are talking about the Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, when we are talking about Uttar Pradesh, we are also developing this defense corridor, we know that. Okay, then Tamil Nadu, Haryana, these are the basically top performer when we are talking about the GST collections. Okay, then the tax expert credits the increased collection of the economic activities to the economic activity, because of the resilient economy which we have as of now, because we have seen that world over there is this slowdown which is prevalent, but in India the economy has been resilient. Okay, so that is the you can say resilient economic activity, and improved compliance driven by the audits and the anti-evasion measures. Sustainability of the growth trajectory will depend on the factors like consumption demands, global economic dynamics. Total GST collection for April included contribution from the CGST, SGST, IGST and cess. Okay, with amount settled to both CGST and SGST from the IGST. Okay, so this is about your you can say GST collection, and this article which has said that there has been the highest GST collection or monthly GST collections which has been recorded this time. Okay, now moving to the next article that is related to your fertilization. Okay, hold on a second. The challenge and the necessity of balance in use of fertilization. When we are talking about the use of fertilizer in Indian agriculture, after you can say green revolution, the use of fertilization has been increased because of the high yields. We have seen that after the use of these fertilizers, there was this in the green revolution, when we are talking about, there was this thing that we have used the hybrid seeds first, and then we have gone for the use of fertilizers, and it was seen that there was a good yield which was produced after the you can say green revolution. So the farmers has this tendency to go for use of these fertilizers, and they have this misconception that the more they use it, the more production will be there, and because of which there are certain fertilizers like urea. Okay, these are being, you can say, used disproportionately, which is again harming the yield of the farm, or you can say nature of the soil over there. Okay. So that is why there is a need to go for a balanced fertilization. We will see what is balanced fertilization, but by the name itself you can see that there should be a, you can say, proper proportions in which these fertilizers should be used, so that the nutrients which are given to the plants can be given in a, proper proportion, in the proper quantity. Okay. So let's see why we are talking about this. And when we are talking about the disproportionate use, mostly this fertilizers like urea, and then we have DPT, these are used disproportionately. Okay. And these fertilizers has nitrogen content which is higher. Okay. So the soils get rich in the nitrogens, but the other demands like potassium etc. are not being fulfilled. Okay. So we will talk about that. So now coming to the article, balanced fertilization, that is discouraging farmers from applying too much of urea and diammonium phosphate or muriate of potash, which have only primary nutrients. Okay. When we are talking about the primary nutrients, we are talking about basically N, P and K. Okay. So when we are talking about this nitrogen, then we are talking about potash and phosphorus. So that these are the basically your primary nutrients. And when we are talking about these three fertilizers like urea, DAP, that is muriate of potash, MOP, these are basically rich in only primary nutrients. Okay. So there are some micronutrients which are also needed like sulfur etc. Then there are some other you can say these micronutrients like iron, zinc, copper, these are also needed for the plants, and which demand is not been fulfilled by the use of urea etc. Okay. Ultimately that is not giving any good result. So for the better yield, for the better production, we need to go for the balanced fertilization. That is what the idea behind this balanced fertilization is, and it is saying that after the new government comes in June, they should have this agenda to go for the balanced fertilization, or to encourage the farmers to go for the balanced fertilization. Okay. The urea consumption hits record high, that is 35.8 million tons. Here you can say this is urea. Okay. So here you can say this is increasing, this data 314, then 336, 350, and there was this particular dip, that is 341, and then 351, 357. Okay. So ultimately we can say that the urea, the use of, or the consumption of urea is increasing. Okay. And then we can see the similar kind of trends in the DAP as well. Okay. But at that particular point of time, that is where these use of DAP was discouraged, but again this is increasing. Okay. So these are certain data. When we are talking about the use of NPKs, okay, that is your you can say that is basically your kind of fertilizers which are there in the different proportions. Okay. So NPK, which is your primary, and along with sulfur. Okay. So their use is increasing, but that is you can say that is not much when we compare with the urea, that is 314, that was 90 only, 357 it was 110 only. Okay. So that is why we can say that urea and DAP are used disproportionately. Okay. So coming to the article again. So here you can say that 16.9% higher than the 30.6 million tons in 2013 and 14. You don't have to remember all these things. Now consumption of these fertilizer containing 46% of nitrogen fell during 2016 and 17, which was attributed to the mandatory coating of urea with the neem oil. Okay. So in 2017-18 there was this direction by the government that every urea or fertilizer should be basically coated with the neem coated urea should be used. Okay. So because of which there was a dip, because whenever there is a change in the, you can say, process or you can say anything which farmers is applying in the field, farmers are quite skeptical about it, because they do not have much awareness of it. Okay. So they will not be able to go for any risky endeavor, or any they will not want to go for taking any kind of risk, and that is why there was a dip. But again that started increasing afterwards. Okay. That is gone up during the next 6 years. Now nutrient based subsidy, that scheme was there. Okay. Before that I would tell you, balanced fertilization means that supplying primary nutrients like, I will write it as primary as 1 degree, that is N, P and K. When we are talking about secondary, that is your sulfur, calcium, magnesium, and then we have this you can say micronutrients. These micronutrients are basically your iron, zinc, copper, manganese etc. Okay. So please remember these you can say name of these nutrients, because they can ask you directly in the exam. So micronutrients like iron, zinc, copper, manganese, boron, molybdenum, all these are important for the growth of the plant. Nutrients in the right proportion should be there based on the soil type and the crop requirement. Okay, so that is basically your balanced fertilization, is that you have to use all these things in a particular balanced proportion depending upon the soil type and the crop requirement. Okay, otherwise if you see a crop which is not in which nitrogen is not needed, obviously nitrogen is needed for any crop, but you can say excess nitrogen is not needed and you are providing it with urea. So obviously there will not be any you can say increase in the yield. Okay, in April 2010, UPA government has come up with the nutrient based subsidy for that particularly NPK. So there was this per kg subsidy was given, or subsidy was fixed for the NPK and S. Okay, but this did not yield much result because farmer is using mostly urea and government has kept urea out of it. Okay, so that is why this particular subsidy scheme did not work as you can say as it was expected to work. Okay, second thing is there was some discrepancies which are related to price. Okay, so here you can say there were some discrepancies which are related to price, like we do not want to use much of urea, but again urea is readily available at the lowest price. Second thing is we want that DAP should be used minimum, but when we are talking about this NPK NPKS fertilizer, okay, so their price is almost equal with the DAP and farmer is accustomed with the DAP. Okay, so he will go for the DAP. When we are talking about the use of MOP should be there, but their prices are higher. Let's say when we are talking about DAP, DAP's price is somewhere around 1200. Okay, NPKS, that price is somewhere around 1160, and MOP which we want to use, we want farmers to use, their price is around 1600. Okay, so there is this price discrepancy, and that is why the farmers are going for the overuse of urea. And when we are talking about urea, urea is readily available. Okay, so that is why they are being used disproportionately, like when we are talking about DAP and urea, these are the most used and these are used disproportionately. Okay, now coming to the next part over here, there is certain things which are related to international markets and the markets in India. Okay, before that, here you can say MOP's MRP is there, that is 1650. Neither farmer applies or applies directly, or companies incorporate into the complexes. Okay, so this when we are talking about MOP, that is potash. Okay, so companies are not going for the inclusion of potash in their formations like NP that is the NPKS ratio. They are not using potash. Okay, here you can say the widely used ratio is 20:20:0:10, 20:20:0:13. Okay, so that is N, P, K and S. Here you can say that percentage of the proportion of the potash is 0. Okay, so ultimately we are saying that companies are not giving it. Okay, farmer is not readily, you can say he is not accepting this particular fertilizer because it is very high in price, 1650 somewhere. So that is why the potash requirement of the plants are not being fulfilled. Okay, so that is why that is not good, because potassium boost immunity against the pest and disease as well as the uptake of the nitrogen. Okay, so potassium, when we are talking about over here, that is muriate of potash. Okay, so potassium is basically good for the immunity of the plants. Okay, and now this is not available in the NPKS. Otherwise also it is not available because it is very high in the prices. So farmer is not going to use it. Okay, now immediate challenge is to ensure proper price hierarchy. Now see here, we want to discourage these two things, DAP and urea, but their prices are very low. Okay, when we want that there should be use of MOP, that is muriate of potash, but their prices are very high. Ideally what should be the case? Ideally the case should be the lowest price should be of this NPKS, then there should be MOP, then there should be DAP, and then there should be urea. Okay, but that is altogether different story over here. Okay, so price hierarchy should be set up. Now what is the opportunity for India? Okay, India is, when we are talking about the fertilizer, India is heavily dependent on the imports. Okay, but recently when we are looking at the world, there are this trends world over, the prices of these fertilizers are basically low. Okay, earlier when we are talking about these prices were somewhere around 900 to 1000 US dollars, but right now it is somewhere around 340 to 500 US dollars. Okay, so basically now we have this opportunity, we can go for the you can say any kind of change in the price regime. So if we want to make any kind of price corrections, okay, so that is the time, because prices are low, you can go to the market and purchase these things and go for the change in the pricing. Okay, so that is the opportunity for India as of now. Okay, so I hope this is clear. You don't have to remember all these things for your prelims point of view, because they will not ask you all these things. Just remember 2-3 things which I will tell you right now. Okay, first thing is this, okay, nutrient based subsidy. Before that you have to talk about this balanced fertilization. There are the name of the nutrients which is given, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, sulfur, calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, copper, magnesium, boron, molybdenum. Okay, so and here molybdenum, okay, it seems like it should be some kind of radioactive elements, etc., but it is not. It is used as a, you can say, micronutrients. Okay, so this is one thing you have to remember. Second, the nutrient based subsidy scheme which is given over here, an important factor is that urea is not part of it. Okay, second thing. Third thing is that there is overuse of urea. Okay, and there is this Bharat brand fertilizer. Okay, we have discussed it in previous lectures, that is Bharat brand fertilizers. So what government is doing is, government is coming up with this brand, that is Bharat brand, and they are going for the retail distribution of these particular Bharat brand fertilizers. Okay, so these are the 4-5 things which you can remember for this article. Now we can move further to the next article. Okay, hold on. In Goa's capital, a historical artifact has been found and discovered inside a dug up pavement. Okay, so some workers were working somewhere and they are trying to make a pavement, and then they found that there was this artifact, which here you can see this has been found. It is not very old. This is you can say attributed to the time when Portuguese were in Goa. Okay, so this particular artifacts, okay, it is look like there are previous you can say artifacts which has been found over there, and it is looking like a polished. Okay, there is this sand pole, and those people who has followed him, these were called polished missionaries. Okay, so this particular artifacts looks like one, and there were 2-3 more artifacts which has been found in the past, which which are similar to that kind. Okay, now it can be built up of your sandstone or the granite. The you can say the assessment has to be done yet. Okay, we don't know that how old it is, but it is speculations that since we have the similar artifacts like that from that particular time of Portuguese around after 1600. So it might also belongs to that particular era. Here you can say that there is this particular man who is playing a violin or musical instrument, and there is this animal which is there besides his legs. Okay, so that is the, you can say, idea about the artifacts. Now coming to the article here, the carved stone slabs estimated to date back to several hundreds years when Goa was under the Portuguese rules. It can be of granite or sandstone. Bearded men, he is having a beard. Bearded man playing a musical instrument with an animal near his feet. Polished missionaries from the Society of Jews who worked to spread the Catholicism in the Portuguese Empire's Asian colonies. Okay, so basically Catholicism which they used to preach in this particular area. Okay, and here these missionaries are from the Societies of Jesus. Okay, sorry, not from Jews, Societies of Jesus. Okay, now they are spreading the Christianism or the, you can say, that Catholicism. Okay, so these people used to follow a saint, that is Saint Paul, and that is why they are called as polished missionaries. Okay, now these Jews these missionaries came to Goa in 16th century. They were followers of the Saint Paul, who built the college of Saint Paul in Old Goa, hence the term polished. Okay, so there is this particular college. I remember there was this question which was related to a church. Okay, which was there in Goa. Okay, that church was asked in UPSC because that particular person who has built the church, or the church, or the on whose name that church was built, that person was in news. Okay, so similarly now since this St. Paul is in news, so there are chances that they can ask you something like that. Okay, the origin of the sculpture is yet to be conclusively established. There are three similar sculptures which has the image of Polish already existing in the Siridao area. Okay, now when we are talking about this particular thing, these polished which were earlier in the old Goa, then they have moved to the Tiswandi area which is in the new Goa. So all these things are not important for you. These similar statues is there in of the polished which is present in that particular area as I mentioned over here, that is Siridao area. It dates back to the 19th century, the time Panjim came to be a Goa's capital. Okay. Now Archaeological Survey of India, Archaeology department has taken away this particular, or they have taken this architecture in the custody, and now they will go for the assessment of this particular thing. This carved granite slab was part of the construction material which was transported from the earlier decaying Portuguese capital Velha Goa, that is old Goa, to the new Goa. So basically what happened that they used this construction material which was has been taken from the old Goa to new Goa when this Panjim was basically changed, made the capital of Goa. So at that point of time they have taken certain things from the old Goa and they have brought it to the new Goa. Okay, so in part of that particular thing might have come in this particular area of Goa or Panji. Okay, during the construction of the new Patto bridge, many sculptures or many such granite artifacts and round pillars were found in this area. Okay, now several myths are there that polished in their folklore. They have said that missionaries are revered figures, especially for their proficiency in building large churches and their structures across Goa. Okay, so one thing that they have built a lot of infrastructure, or you can say architecture over there. Then the construction of the Ribandar causeway, it is said that this particular causeway or this particular bridge has been made overnight. Okay, so this is 3.2 kilometers causeway connecting Panji to Ribandar was built by the polished overnight with the light of a single lamp. Okay, it is also known as the Ponte Conde de Linhares. Okay, so that is why, because there was this viceroy of Portuguese, that is Miguel de Noronha. Miguel de Noronha. Okay, so this person has ordered this, and that is why this is known as here you can say Ponte Conde de Linhares. Okay, so because this was from the fourth count of the Linhares, all these things you don't have to remember because they will not ask you all these things. Just remember that there was this Portuguese viceroy with the name of Miguel de Noronha. Okay, because we have already remembered 3 or 4 viceroys from the, you can say, governors from the Portugal era. So this can be asked because it was in newspaper. Okay, now we can move to the next part, that is DRDO successfully test missile assisted torpedo release system. Okay, when we are talking about these torpedoes are some kind of, you can say, missiles that are targeting the submarines, etc. So here you can say DRDO Wednesday tested a next generation torpedo release system aimed at boosting the Navy's anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Okay, so it is basically part of your Navy's anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Okay, now the supersonic missile assisted release of torpedo, that is a smart system. Okay, so please remember what is this smart system, because that has been tested by the DRDO and it was a successful test. So supersonic means that the speed would be more than the speed of sound. Okay, supersonic missile assisted release of torpedo system has been designed and developed by the DRDO. The missile based mechanism to launch lightweight torpedoes can target the submarines hundreds of kilometers away, far beyond the conventional range of the lightweight torpedoes. Okay, so basically it will be having a more range. Okay, this missile based mechanism to launch lightweight torpedoes. Okay, this weight will be light and they will go for the higher ranges. Okay, now it has been employed in the absence of the other assets for the immediate actions when an enemy submarine is detected. Okay, when you don't have any other options, or you can say it is employed in the absence of other assets. Okay, you don't have other assets at that point of time, you can go for the use of torpedo. Okay, it can be launched from both coast and the warships. It has been tested from this particular island, that is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island of the Odisha coast. Please remember this location because that can be important for your feelings. Okay, 2-stage solid propulsion engine will be there, and then precision inertial navigation system is also given in that. Advanced lightweight torpedo missile, it will carry this particular system, that is a smart launching system that will carry advanced lightweight torpedo missiles as a payload along with the parachute based release mechanism. Okay, you don't have to remember all these things, just know that it is been tested in this particular island, so this location becomes important. Now what is this smart system, okay, and what is the torpedo? Okay, I hope this is clear. Now coming to the next article from around the world. There is a disquiet in Delhi over US Aussies report on Indian spy operations. Okay, so there was this report which is saying that there are spy operations which are sponsored by India. Okay, hold on. So because of that, there is a disquiet in the Delhi. We'll talk about that. Why I have taken this question? Because recently there were two incidents which has happened. One is that Hardeep Singh Nijjar case. In that case, it was alleged that there are some kind of involvement of India in that particular thing. We have said that these allegations are absurd. Okay. Second, similar case has happened that there was a plot against Harappa-Aryan Singh. That person is also a Khalistani separatist, which is right now in USA. So USA has also said that there was a plot to kill this person, and there are chances that some person from the India would also be involved in that. Okay, so these kind of allegations were there, and then you must have seen this Five Eye alliances. This Five Eye alliance has actually Five Eyes alliance, which has they have shared some kind of intelligence, okay, and which was pointing to that particular thing which has happened in with the Canada and USA. But right now there was certain reports which we will talk about. The reports in the USA and Australian media about operation allegedly you can say by Indian intelligence officer overseas has caught the establishment off guard. Okay, so basically they are saying that there are some kind of operations which are done by the Indian intelligence. Okay, there is a sense of disquiet in Delhi at what it seems as a concerted pushback from the key Western strategic partners. Now we are seeing it as a setback because obviously these are the countries like Australia, the US, these are our partners. We are talking about these are our Western allies. Okay, now if they are saying something like that, if they are going for some comments like that, that kind of has a setback in itself. Okay, so on Tuesday the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, that is ABC, reported that Indian spies were kicked out of Australia after being caught trying to steal secrets about sensitive defence projects, airport security, as well as the classified information of the Australia's trade relations. Now they are saying that there were some spies which were trying to take away this secret information, but they were caught and they were sent back to India. Okay, so that is being said by this particular ABC corporation that has reported this particular thing. Okay, so called the foreign nest of spies disrupted by the Australian Security Intelligence Organization in 2020. Okay, so they also have their own you can say spy systems. They also have their own intelligence systems. Okay, and they have caught them off guard and then they have sent back to India. Now the thing is, when we are talking about the statement of the Australian government, they did not make any such statement. Okay, here you can say the monitoring Indians living here. Okay, when we are talking about this particular Australian Security Intelligence Organization in 2020, they were also accused of closely monitoring Indians living over here and developing close relations with the current and the former politicians. Okay, they have said that the Indians or the diaspora which are living over there, they are trying to make relations with the political you can say setup over there. So obviously that is that will be the case. If diaspora is living there, they would want to put forward their own interest, and they will go for the such relationship making over there. So just a day earlier on Monday, Washington Post identified an intelligence official involved in the assassination of the plot of Khalistan Sikh, that is separatist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. Okay, as I told you, there was this allegations that there was this controversy in which Indian might be involved. Okay, sought to establish the link between the top official in the Indian intelligence and the security establishment. Okay, so similar thing has happened earlier as well. Now report makes unwarranted and unsubstantiated imputations on the serious matter. Okay, and there is this ongoing probe with respect to this particular case. When we are talking about this allegations which has been put forward by the USA, we have said that we will go and make a high panel committee, and that will decide on the case, that will investigate the case. Okay, so that is the case. Whenever something like this happens, some action has to be taken. Then the Indian government has not yet responded to the ABC's revelations. Whatever this ABC corporation has said, they have not responded with it, especially since the Australian government has not lent its weight behind the claims published in the media, because Australian government has not supported the this particular thing. They did not say anything in favor of this report. Okay, so that is why Indian government has also not responded that particular thing. Well, other than that, the Australian government has said that there are some democratic values, we are supporting that democratic values, and all these things has been said, which is not of no use. There is a feeling which is shared in the Western Bloc and Northern Bloc, wherein you have our Prime Minister's office and you have External Affairs Minister's office. Okay, Western agencies are trying to draw a red line with India, a key partner in the Quad grouping. Okay, now since the, you can say, influence of India is increasing. Okay, so that is why they are trying to draw a red line. Okay, so Western agencies are trying to draw a red line with India, a key partner in the Quad grouping. The next government post June 4 will be more sensitive about the operations overseas, and especially in those countries. Okay, so that is basically the goal. That is the goal of these Western agencies. They want them. They want that next government, which is to take over the power in post June 4. They will be more sensitive towards the spy activities, and they will not go for such operations. Okay, so again, our government has not made any kind of statement about it, so we will not go and speculate anything. Okay, now coming to the last part, that is for your own read, the question of Article 31C. Now this is when we are talking about the 31C, that is exception to a fundamental right. Okay, so you have to go through this particular article. We are waiting for a particular Supreme Court judgment. It will come, and then we will take up this particular issue. Till then, you can go and read about this particular article. Okay, while hearing a case about the private property, as I told you, we have talked about this particular thing, that private property should be the material resource or not. Okay, so this private property, Supreme Court has asked whether Article 31C, a fundamental right, still exists. What is the article when it was introduced in the Constitution, and what is the legal journey. Okay, so this is about your Article 31C. This is basically your static portion, so I am not covering it, because this is already given in your booklets, etc. So please go ahead and read the article. And then the last part is your practice question. Which authority is responsible for the conducting audits and the investigation related to GST compliances? Okay, a Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and the Customs, Security and Exchange Board of India, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Okay, so which agency is responsible for the conducting audits and the investigations related to GST compliance? Okay, so options are given. You have to choose the most appropriate answer from this. With that, I would like to take your leave. If you are not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel. Thank you.